You'd be in the water for 20 minutes and the next thing you know, you'll see sharks swimming around you.
We screamed for help for a long time and no one saw us, and we just drifted all the way off the beach line where we couldn't see the beach no more.
Well, Troy and I have gone fishing probably hundreds of times. We used to live in a neighborhood that was backed up to the water.
We were gonna go take the boat to the beach, and we were just gonna have a short little fishing trip because it was on a Sunday. I had school the next day.
We were probably 30, 40 minutes that after we put in, we started getting caught in the current, which led us out to the ocean. And we tried to paddle off to the side, we tried to fight it, but it just, every time you paddle, it just turned the boat around on you. You couldn't control the boat at all. And it eventually pulled us into the rip current, which actually just shot straight out into the ocean.
We had no sails on the boat, we had no motor. It was just the frame, the body of the boat, us, and we had some paddles. We had a total of 4 paddles. I knew what a rip current was, but I really didn't know the seriousness of it because I've never experienced how powerful it was until that day. And then I looked back at the beach, and then we were just a couple hundred yards off the beach line, and then I realized, we're not getting out of this paddling.
When we first realized we were in trouble, I really didn't worry about it too much. I figured that, once 6, 7 o'clock, our parents would realize that something might happen. They'll be looking for us. So I wasn't too worried. The water was really cold. When we first got into the current, the sandbar wasn't very far away from us. I jumped in with a rope, trying to swim back to the sandbar, which I figured if we got to the sandbar, I could pull the boat back with us. But I was halfway there, and Troy looked like he was about to drown. He just couldn't swim no more. So once we realized we couldn't swim against the current, we just figured the best bet was to stay with the boat.
We screamed for help for a long time, and no one saw us, and we just drifted all the way off the beach line where we couldn't see the beach no more. Josh, he decided, why waste time? Let's just fish while we're out here. And he thought he saw a fin, so he went to go fish, and a wave hit the boat, and he fell and lost his balance.
I lost my pole in the water because I knocked me over, and I dropped the pole, and my tackle box and my bait all went out of the side of the boat. So we had nothing. We had fishing poles, but no hooks and no bait. Well, the first night that we were out there, it was really cold. It went down to a record temperature at that time of year. It was below freezing.
The waves was just very choppy, and there were huge swells. It was just like it was a big beast, and we couldn't do anything. We just, had to fight it as much as possible. On the second day, the first thing that we did, we looked to see if we could see anybody, any boats, any land, and unfortunately we didn't. And we realized, well, maybe that they didn't search, last night, they're just waiting for a new day, and then they're gonna start searching.
Well, during the second day, we were both hungry. We hadn't eaten since that morning, which we didn't even eat a good breakfast. So we were talking about food, we were talking about drinks. You're out in the ocean, and the water looks like, blue Gatorade that you wish you could drink, but you can't. I jumped in the water and swam around. Of course, we couldn't stay in there long because you'd be in the water for 20 minutes and the next thing you know, you'll see sharks swimming around you.
But when that night came and we didn't see nobody the second day, you know, my hope really got blasted away. I told Josh, I said, that's not good, you know. It's the second night and no one's, you know, we haven't seen nobody. Josh and I, we cry all the time. We cry mainly because of our family and our friends that we wouldn't, you know, ever get to see them again. It was horrible. On the fourth night, there was no waves, period. I mean, it was like a huge lake that was glassy, and I've never seen the ocean so calm in my life.
We just dozed off. I heard a real loud noise, and I looked up, and it was just the front of a cargo ship. It looked like a hotel. It was, you know, just so tall, and it was, you know, coming right at us. And so I couldn't even say nothing. I was stunned, you know. I thought we were getting ready to get crushed by this boat, and I just grabbed Troy's leg and just squeezed as hard as I could. And the wave coming off the front of the boat eventually just pushed us off to the side. And, you know, we started yelling and everything else. I was trying to take the anchor. I was trying to get it untangled. I was going to try to throw it up to the side of the boat, or hopefully it hooked to something. But couldn't get anything, you know, couldn't signal anybody. We found these little jelly balls in the, you know, floating beside us. Just like they're actually in little strands. They, you know, they'll connect to each other. It's, you know, no bigger than an eraser on a pencil. I mean, that's how little they are. He ate one, and the next morning he was fine, and he was like, I'll eat some more. So I took my hat off, and I'd scoop him up by the hatful, and he'd eat them.
I slept a few hundred down, and it tastes like, you know, an oyster, just really fishy, and it has probably twice as bad aftertaste.
On the seventh day, when I woke up, I looked out, and there was just a, you know, big old rainbow. And the next thing you know, I looked down in the water, and there was 3 or 4 dolphins, and then 2 little baby dolphins swimming around. You know, so I woke Troy up. He was still dead asleep, and you know, I had to show him. It was just an awesome sight.
It was like all these signs were being thrown at us, and I told Josh, you know, either we were gonna die and go to heaven, or someone's gonna find us. And it was just almost like I knew I was gonna die that night. I knew I didn't have it in me to go another night.
And it wasn't 5 minutes later, Troy goes, I hear an engine. And I was like, well, it's probably gonna be like every other boat. They're just gonna go right past us.
You know, something told me to stand up and to see where it was. And when I stood up and I realized it was coming right for us, it was like a burst of energy in me. And I started going crazy. And I told Josh to stand up. We started waving our paddles and screaming. And it was like they went straight for us. And it was an amazing feeling.
As soon as I got on that boat, you know, it felt like everything was just lifted off our shoulders. Like we couldn't hardly walk. It felt like it just hit us then that, you know, how miserable we were, or how close to dying we really were. I survived because my granddad and my dad and all that, they always told us my whole life that, you know, if you get in a situation, don't panic, think about it, and, you know, stay with the boat, especially if you're on the water, always stay with your boat. And if it wasn't for the advice and the friendship and God being with us, there was no way we'd have ever made it.
I survived this trip mainly, and I believe this is because of God, the grace of God. There's a reason why, you know, I'm on this earth. Our friendship now, it turned into a brotherhood, and I mean, we're always there for each other, and we will be there for each other till the day we die.